Good evening. I get to share with you an experience of my life for the last 40 years or longer. Try to use bigger numbers. But we're going to talk a little bit, I'm going to talk about Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And I've talked to some of you before about how it's influenced my life. I got the book whenever I was a junior in high school. And I still have that book today. And I've talked before about the influence and how it has meant so much to me. But I haven't really talked about how does it work for me, and how did I translate the things in the book. So this month, I'm going to give 4 talks on Wednesday nights, and there just so happens to be 4 parts to the book, so what a coincidence. So there actually is 5 Wednesdays, but we have a special guest for one, and I was really glad because I don't think they could write a 5th part to the book in time. And so tonight we're going to talk about the first part. And I want to tell you about the story of Jonathan, and then I want to share with you an experience, or my experiences. And then we're going to, at the end, I have a song for you, and I'm going to talk about that and introduce it to you from Neil Diamond, the soundtrack that he wrote for the movie Jonathan Livingston Seagull. So part 1 is about Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and you get it by now. He's a seagull, and the whole movie is in seagull, and so it's the whole book and the movie itself, and so you can imagine watching a whole movie of seagulls flying around. But it was like one of the best movies I ever watched because of how the book touched me and how it connected with everything. But in that first part, Jonathan is looking to go, I don't want to fight for food. I have more fun learning how to fly than I do going around after a boat and fighting over food. I would rather learn how to fly and just keep getting better and better and better. And so he does that. And his parents try to stop him from doing that. Why can't you be like everybody else? Why can't you just get in line and fight for food and, go to sleep and wake up and eat and go to sleep and wake up? Why can't you do that? And he's like, all right, I'll try it. So he tries it, and he's like, I can't do this. He actually won an anchovy from an old gull, and so then he said, here, you can have it, and then just took off back to flying. And then as he was flying, he would have experiences of, he wanted to be better. He just wanted, I want to be better. There's got to be perfect flight. It's got to get better. And so he would do that. And then he started out like, 40 miles an hour, 30, 40 miles an hour. And he said, this is pretty cool. And then you go, and he makes a discovery. And when he makes a discovery, then it's like, if I do my wings this certain way, look, I'm up to 70 or 80 miles an hour. And he's just getting, more and more excited as he finds new discoveries. And then what happens is he reaches a point, it's like the ceiling of learning for him, and he reaches that ceiling and he falters and he falls. He was going probably, I think it was 96 miles an hour, and his wings, he did something wrong with his wings, and so he faltered and he fell. And have any of you done a belly flop before in the pool? Well, he did a belly flop at 96 miles an hour. And so then he's just laying there in the water. He doesn't even have the energy to get up, to fly or to do anything. He's just floating there, and then he's realizing that he's getting heavier and heavier because of the water. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. And so he sees a driftwood, part of a pallet kind of floating, and so he goes, okay, I'll just go over there. So he goes over and crawls up there. He starts thinking, like, is this it? Am I going to die on this piece of wood? Is that my whole existence? And so he has a moment there where he's just defeated. and he's there. And so then he's like, okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to the flock. I'm gonna just fight for food. I'm gonna eat, sleep. That's what I'm gonna do. And so that resolution gets him off of that piece of wood. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna go back. He is just barely off of that wood, and then it hits him another breakthrough. So how many of you have that experience where you're just really super low, and then you have a breakthrough? And then he just forgets about being on that pallet. He forgets that he was just a few seconds ago talking about dying, and now he wants to try out this new thing that he had come in his mind. And so off he goes, and he's so excited, and he ends up not faltering. It's like a breakthrough for him. And he's just so excited, and so he keeps doing that breakthrough, even though his parents tell him, hey, stop it, go eat and sleep. And even all of his peers tell him that you either stop or you're out of here. You're not part of us anymore. You're not gonna be with the flock anymore. And so he goes, no, I'm gonna keep learning. I don't care. That's where there's more to life than eating. I'm gonna keep doing this. And so eventually he gets outcast. It's like, hey, you're out here. And he actually had an experience where he did this great maneuver right in front of breakfast flock, and it was spectacular. And then he ended up, and he lands, and then anyway, he didn't land, but he just took off, and he goes, oh, that was awesome. They had to see how awesome that was. And so he's all excited because everybody can realize how awesome flying was. And so then he comes back, and they say, well, stand to center. Well, you can only stand to center for honor or stand to center for shame. So they are going to honor me for this breakthrough. They're going to honor me for this new way of flying. And so he goes in, and he gets in there, and they say, call the center for shame. He goes, what? You guys are crazy. What do you mean stand to center for shame? He says, you're not doing like everybody else, so you're out. Nobody will ever talk to you again, and you're out. And so then he leaves. And so he spends the whole part one of the book is he's just learning. He's just exploring. He's by himself, and he's just real excited that he's learning. And he has thoughts about the flock. He has thoughts about the breakfast flock, and it's like, it's really a shame that they don't want to learn. But it's like, okay, I will learn. I have my passion. So he had a passion for this, he had perseverance, he had failures, but he just kept going. And that's what connected with me whenever I read that first part of the book. It's like, okay, who am I? And I'm not just wanting to eat. I'm just not wanting to eat and sleep. I know there's more. And so there are different variations that I've gone through, but my focus has been on leadership, and my focus has been on teaching. And so I've been wanting to do that all my life. And so you can imagine through a career, you have all these ups and downs, and you think you're supposed to go this way, so you go that way, and then there's a failure, or it doesn't work out. So then you're like, why can't I catch it? Why can't I figure it out? And then you go and you figure out something else to do. But it's just like Jonathan, where he would have a failure, and he would almost be in despair, and then he would re-energize himself, and he would fly off, and then he would have another breakthrough. So all the times that he had a failure, right after that he would have a breakthrough, and he just kept progressing, he kept getting better at flying, which is what he wanted to do. And so that like instilled in me, the never give up, never surrender, and just keep going. And that energy that he had was just phenomenal to me, because I could see many times where it's easy to say, I'm just going to go eat. I don't want to do anything else anymore. I just want to eat. And so that's really what the first part is about. And there's some transitions into each of the parts, and I'll talk more about those later, because this first talk is kind of action-packed. What's happening in the first part, kind of laying the foundation for it. And there's just a lot of the pieces of the perseverance. There's a lot that he didn't give up, and that's what resonated with me. And then what I want to go through now is so that's the book, right? And so I believe that music is really the key that ties our brain and our heart together. So whenever you're thinking, you're kind of staying up in your brain all the time. But whenever you're listening to music and it's something that you just love, you can get lost in the music and you don't have to think about it. It just resonates with you, and you're just in that moment, and you're not overthinking it in your brain. You're just experiencing the sounds. And so whenever Neil Diamond came out with the soundtrack for the movie, and I was a big fan of Neil Diamond, I saw his first concert. I think it was the first and only concert in Las Vegas. He did one, and then he's like, I don't want to sing where people are there to eat and all that kind of stuff. They just got to come to see me. So he was big about that. But I was a big fan, so I got that ticket and went and saw him. And so this music, this one song that I'm going to share with you tonight, the title of it's Dear Father. And it's 5 minutes long, and we're going to play 5 minutes and 17 seconds. So we're going to play that whole thing for you. But before we play it, I want to talk about it a little bit. The whole idea of life is encapsulated in that 5 minutes and 17 seconds. So it starts out when he's on that plank of wood. So despair, that's where he's at. Ready to give up? Am I supposed to die here? Okay, I'll just be a common person, or I'm in a common goal, I'll go just eat. And then, but of the 5 minutes, guess how long that is where he's in despair? It is only just over a minute of the 5. It's in despair. And the next is the breakthrough. And so on the breakthrough, you can hear in the music of where he's flying back, he's already given up, and then he's flying back, and then it hits him a new way of flying as he's flying back, and he has forgotten now about giving up, has forgotten about being common and fighting for food. And so there's a whole section there of the song where it is the exhilaration of the discovery. And then the last minute and a half of the song is in gratitude. And so in gratitude for life and who he is and where he's going and what he's learned. So you have the despair, you have the exhilaration of the discovery, and then you have gratitude. And God is with all 3 parts. The name of the song is Dear Father. And so it is just many, many times I would have a headset on. I would put this song on repeat, and I would play it over and over and over again. And I would get through any despair that I had by listening to this song over and over again. It just stirred the emotion in me, and then I got up, and then I went for the discovery, and then I sat in gratitude for the ability to go in that cycle. And I know that despair is part of the cycle. And so I don't really have despair. I just know that I have to go within. I have to have my talk with God, and I have to have the peace to know that it'll pass and I'll be okay. So remember the 3 parts of the song. So there's despair, or just like wanting to give up. There's the discovery and the excitement, and then there's gratitude. So what I like to do, we'll play it now. See if you can tell each of the parts as the song plays.
Dear Father, we dream, we dream, we dream, while we dream. Ooh. of power we dream, we dream while we may.
Did you feel the three parts? The despair on the palette, and then there's the discovery all of a sudden, and then there's the piano playing as he's like trying out something new, and then just the exhilaration that, wow, you know, this is awesome, this is great. And I did singing in high school, and so it's interesting. So like, if I was just having a little rough time, then I would listen to the whole soundtrack of Jonathan and their parts, and each week you'll hear a different song and hear my connection with that song. And so it just kind of like, oh, it kind of centered me. And then it was a little bit tougher times, then it was that song that you just heard on repeat. I would hear it again and again and again. And then if it was really, really tough, then I sang. So I would sing that song, and I would hear it, and I would sing it over and over and over again. And just, I would be okay. I would be in gratitude. I would know that I could get through it. And so that's what I want to leave with you today, is that each of you, I have a life where I'm happy. I'm at peace. I'm on my journey. And I am just so excited that I am, and I love it, and I connect with it. And you can find your passion in life. You may, or probably you already have found your passion, but the key to the story is that you stick to your passion, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what anybody else says to you, that you can pursue your passion and be happy. Be peaceful, and celebrate the love that's in the world. It's pretty cool. It's a cool place to be. And the most important thing of everything that I've said tonight is that you're never alone. God is with you always. And if that's where the direction of your heart is, in good times and in bad, then all will be good. You'll be happy, you'll be at peace, and you'll live in love.